I used to believe that people envied my life. Not because I was wealthy or ostentatious, but because I had something most people spend their whole lives searching for: a stable marriage, a home full of laughter, and a loyal best friend. Olivia and I had been married for 5 years. Like any couple, we had our ups and downs, but I never imagined that the downs would be enough to destroy us. I remember the way she used to look at me in the beginning, her eyes gleaming as if I were the center of her universe. We had built our life together, brick by brick, through restless nights and endless dreams. I stayed busy with work, but I always made sure Olivia never felt neglected. Friday nights were ours: Chinese takeout and romantic comedies, even though I could hardly stand them. She loved them, so I watched them with her, her head resting against my chest. Daniel was a part of that life, too, my best friend since college. If there was anyone I trusted outside of my marriage, it was him. We bonded over late-night study sessions and our shared hatred for calculus in our first year. Over the years, we had remained close, supporting each other through heartbreaks and job losses. He was even my best man at my wedding. I still remember his toast, how lucky I was to have found Olivia. And back then I agreed. I was fortunate. But luck is the most fleeting thing in the world. At first, Olivia and Daniel didn't spend much time together. They had known each other for years because of me, and they got along well. Maybe too well. I even joked about it, how they had their own little secret friendship. It never bothered me. If anything, I was grateful that my wife and best friend got along. That was until things started to change. Olivia became distant in ways I couldn't quite define. Our conversations grew shorter. At night, she turned away when I reached for her, muttering that she was tired. Her phone, once left on the bedside table, was now always face down, notifications silenced. Of course I noticed, but I dismissed it. Every marriage has phases, right? We were just busy. Then Daniel started pulling away, too. He canceled our usual weekend basketball games, said he was swamped with work. He barely responded to my calls, and when we did meet, something about him felt off. He avoided eye contact. He cut conversations short. Looking back, I regret my naivety, how easily I accepted their flimsy excuses. How blindly I ignored the warning signs that should have been screaming at me. I trusted them both with everything I had. So when Olivia started working late, often coming home after midnight, I told myself it was just my imagination. Even when she came home smelling like someone else's cologne. Even when I sat in the dark waiting for her, staring at my phone for a message that never came. Then one night, I heard the front door creak open. Olivia walked in, her lips swollen, her hair slightly disheveled. She froze when she saw me. "Oh," she murmured, as if my presence was an inconvenience, as if she hadn't expected me to be awake. She hesitated for just a moment before forcing a casual tone. "Work had run late," she said. She didn't have her phone. The words were too smooth, too practiced. I wanted to believe her. If I had known then what I know now, I would have asked for the truth that very night. I would have demanded it, but I didn't. Instead, I let her walk past me and get into bed, clinging to the delusion that everything was fine. That my wife, the woman I had built my life around, wouldn't betray me. I sat on the couch for hours, staring blankly at a late-night TV show I wasn't even watching. My mind fractured into two warring halves. One part of me knew the truth. The other whispered that I was overreacting, that I was exhausted, that I was seeing things that weren't there. Finally, I turned off the television and walked upstairs. Olivia lay on her side, her breathing steady, but I knew she wasn't sleeping. I perched on the edge of the bed and placed a hand on her shoulder. She flinched. A small, involuntary movement. Something inside me cracked. "Can we talk?" I asked softly. She sighed heavily before rolling onto her back, her expression unreadable. "What is there to talk about?" she said flatly. I swallowed, my throat dry. "Are you seeing someone else?" Silence. That silence was my answer. My breath came in short, shallow bursts. My hands clenched into fists. "How long?" I whispered. She hesitated, then finally met my eyes. "A year. A year. My best friend. My wife." For a full year, they had been lying to my face, laughing with me, pretending. I had welcomed Daniel into my home. I had called him my brother. A strangled sound escaped me, a mix between a laugh and a sob. I had been such a fool. I stood abruptly. "I want you out," I said, my voice hollow. A flicker of regret crossed her face, but she masked it quickly. "It's necessary," she said. "Daniel and I, we're moving in together." My stomach twisted. She smoothed out her dress as if she hadn't just shattered my world. Then she delivered the final blow. "We're expecting a baby." I staggered backward. I couldn't breathe. I recoiled as she reached for me, as if to offer some pathetic attempt at consolation. "Get out," I said, my voice trembling. She hesitated, then nodded. And just like that, she was gone. I stood frozen, staring at the empty space where she had been moments ago. The weight of her words pressed down on me like a crushing force. My best friend. My wife. A child that wasn't mine. I clenched my fists, nails digging into my palms. This wasn't a nightmare. This was real. And I couldn't wake up from it. As the sound of her car faded into the distance, I collapsed onto the couch, staring at the wall. Minutes passed. Hours. My phone vibrated. For a brief second, I thought, hoped, it was Olivia calling to say it was all a mistake. But it wasn't her. And in that moment, I finally understood. I had lost everything.